quick introduction. I'm Josh. I'm a pre-sales engineer. Now, that said, what we'll be talking about today is just basic CRM integrations. Now, what we'll be going over, first, I'll kind of give us a scene, give us a picture to kind of understand why we're talking about these things. And then there are a couple of applications that I want to introduce to y'all. So some of you may already have a website. You may have Sales IQ. We'll be talking about that. Some of y'all, of course, we're always scheduling as sales teams, sales admins. We're always scheduling stuff, sending emails back and forth, which can be obnoxious. So we'll get a little bit into how we can easily schedule with all of our customers or prospective customers. And lastly, we'll talk about Zoho Voice and how it integrates, mainly cover telephony functionality. If you're not using that, it is a great tool. Now, that said, I was sitting thinking about the presentation, and I was like, what is the number one, why do we need these applications? What is the number one problem that we generally face, all of us in sales? And that's generally, we didn't meet quota. Now, sometimes we do meet quota. We got those sales goals, we earned the revenue, but it wasn't as much as we wanted to. So we're left with the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. And so I started thinking, well, what are the excuses that we have when we reach that stage? Generally, first, we'll start with the economy because it's an easy fallback. So we always blame the economy first. And even if it doesn't affect you, still, it's just great to say, yeah, the economy. But sometimes we want to look internally. We want to say, okay, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the issue. It's the C-level or management or company structure. Maybe the company culture is not right, which is always, it's just painful. Self-reflection is always dark. It's tough. But sometimes you have to start looking at individual sales reps and say, okay, is there some underperformance going on? And that's also painful and tough. And that's never my first option, right? And I never want it to be my first option. In fact, I got a kid at church, a young friend of mine, and he plays the piano every Sunday. And this kid is a whiz, the type of kids that can they hear a piece and they can replay it, and then he plays it backwards and you're always impressed. And I was talking to his mom and I was like, how did he get like that? It was a great conversation. But she mentioned, it's kind of painful for me, the number of kids who are the next Mozart or Beethoven or what have you, but they never had the access to the tools that they could utilize to become so gifted as we see with this young friend of mine. And so that's when I started thinking, let's scrap all of these first. I don't want to start blaming the economy, the company, the sales reps. I don't want to blame any of that. I want to start seeing what tools we're lacking and see how we can actually get some keys underneath the sales team's fingers, right? So the first tool that I want to talk about, as I mentioned, is Sales IQ. Now, I want to give us a good mental picture here. Imagine that you're a taxi company and you have a bunch of little taxis and they're driving around the city, and you've now instructed your sales team, every time they see somebody waving them down with money, they pull up and they're like, okay, hey, do you have time to meet maybe sometime later next week? We'll sit down and talk about if you're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you. Then we'll schedule something, and then we'll talk about giving you a ride in the future. That would be the absolute worst taxi ever. I would just go to the guy next to him if I were a customer and just give him my money, right? If we're just driving by people who are willing to give us money, that's kind of what we're doing if you have a website and you're not using a tool like Sales IQ, because people are going to land on your website and they're interested. That's why they're at their website. They clicked on you guys for a reason, but then we didn't give them anything, right? So the first thing that I want to look at is Sales IQ and how that's really going to help us as a sales team. All right, so the first thing that we'll be able to do is gain customer insight. And now I'm not going to find out about this person's kids. I'm not going to find out where they went to high school or anything like that. What I do get to find out is how often are they coming to me? How often are they clicking my website? How often are they trying to flag down my taxis? Right? So now I can start picking on this person and say, well, maybe there's a sale here, right? And so now Sales IQ, for those who don't know, this is a website tracker and you have some chats going on. So I can see the traffic that's coming into my website. But we have a omni-channel tool where I can integrate with Facebook, I can integrate with Instagram, and I integrate with my website. So people can actually chat through a few different locations. Now, within that, of course, we're going to have a little bit of that customer insight, but we're also looking to provide some information to the customer. So how many times have you been on a call, you're talking to this customer, and they have the exact same 5 questions every single time, right? It's like, well, okay, what is Zoholics? How much is the event, right? Little things like that. And it's like, oh, it's this much, and it's a great event. You get to come out. Now, what if I could just not have to worry about that? That would be great, right? And so one thing Sales IQ is going to do is it's going to give your customers all of the information that you would normally give them before you speak to them, because they get to go to your website, they hop into the little chat bot, they ask their questions, we give them the information, and now they know whether you're valuable for them or not before we spoke. So now I'm not worried about unqualified leads hopping in because they've already looked into my company without me having to talk to them. Now that's one chatbot that we'll have, but we'll actually have two in here, and you can actually integrate the two of these together. The second one is going to be Zobot. Now with your AI bot, that's what we're actually doing. Zia is in the back end, and you have, we call it Answer Bot, right? The Answer Bot is actually going to pull information from the FAQs that you get to write and load into Zoho, load into Sales IQ. So now you have articles that you've written, you have FAQs, they ask their question, Zia looks, figures it out, spins out an answer for you. The Zobot is going to be a little bit different. This is more so, generally, we have customers on our website, but I want them to talk to me. I want them to talk to my employees, my sales reps. So that's where Zobot comes into play. It's a nice drag and drop builder. This is user defined. So you get to come in and kind of create this conversation that the customer will have with Zobot and then eventually get their information. So with your Answer Bot, we're giving them info. With Zobot, we're getting info from them. Now, when I actually hop into Sales IQ, this is what it looks like. Now, these right here, we see all of these rings. These are our rings of power, except there is no evil Sauron. It's just Sridhar Vembu happily farming in India. So generally what these rings are going to do for me is individuals who have visited my website and maybe we have sales going on with them, they're in our CRM, maybe they've never spoken to us before. These rings are going to help me define how valuable this customer is to me at this moment. I want to be careful there. Of course, every customer is valuable. Even if they haven't purchased from us, there's always that potential. But what I want to do is say this customer right at this moment is extremely important to me. So I'm going to make sure that they're at the center of the ring. Now I get to define these rings here, right? So I could say when a new customer lands on my website, never spoken to them before, don't have a sale with them in the CRM, they're in the outer ring. That means I need to reach out to these people and encourage them towards that center ring, right? Or I could say, okay, well, if this person has been on my website before and they have more than 10 visits, then they move closer and closer to the inside of the rings, right? Or if they've been on my website for more than 10 minutes in this one session. There's a million little ways that I'm going to be able to customize this, but those customers in the center are the most important to me. And that's where we get that valuable customer tracking. So now I understand how important this customer is to me at this moment. Now, at the same time, let's hop into our website. This was built by another pre-sales engineer, Nathan. Shout out to him because it looks great. But I get to hop in as a customer and I get to go and see my Zobot. I hop in and I can do some fun stuff like after 3 seconds, the chat automatically pops up. So we're trying to drum up that conversation with this customer. All right, and hey, howdy, welcome to Zoholics. And here are those pre-templated options that I get to give them. So maybe we book a meeting right here. Maybe they click the speak with a rep button. That's great. It's going to give them the opportunity to fill in their name, their email address, or maybe there's the answer bot that I also throw in here. So we can come in, Zobot thinks a little bit, thinks really hard. There we go. What is Zoholics? And it already has all of this information. It's searching and boom, it gives you a nice little chat, a nice little snippet about what exactly Zoholics is. Now imagine that for y'all. If whatever widget y'all are selling, hey, how heavy is this widget? I want to pick it up a bunch of times. Or, what does long distance calling look like? All information that you get to throw right inside of this chat, right? And then when they're done with it, we can continue to go through the conversation. We can have it pop right back up and enter those options once again. Now, once they've come and visited, right, they're going to click on a bunch of different pages. They're going to see a bunch of different stuff in here, go to all these different URLs. And then I get to go right back to the CRM and I get to see all of these visits. So for those of y'all who are already using the CRM, it might look like this out of the box. What we just saw a moment ago was Canvas. You do get to edit the UI. So Zoho kind of starts to become more of your CRM rather than Zoho's. But that said, I can see all of the visits. How many pages did they visit in that one interaction on my website? Are they actively on my website right now? And this is all for your sales reps when they come to sit down and they're ready to interact with this customer. Well, what kind of stuff were they looking at? Now that's Sales IQ. That's going to be our first tool, the first keys that we're getting underneath our sales team's fingers. The second one is going to be Zoho bookings. And I had to mention this. I debated on mentioning it because it kind of makes me look dumb, but I got to be honest with you guys. So like I said, I don't schedule my own meetings ever. Right? Because the sales team, they book those meetings and I just hop in, talk about the things, and then I'm out of there. Well, the other day, one of the sales reps, there was some double booking or something went on and I had to schedule my own meeting. And so this nightmare occurred. I went in and I needed it was May 13th. I needed this event on May 15th for just a half-hour call. Well, I accidentally, once I clicked save here, I noticed I've got a 2-day booking, 49 hours blocked off on my calendar. That's a bit long for a demo. So I was like, well, I should probably go fix that. While I was here, there's my 49 hours. While I was here, I also noticed I didn't make this an online meeting. For any of you guys using the CRM, integrating with Zoho Meeting, it's like Zoho's version of Zoom. I like it a lot better. Obviously, I'm biased. But you click this little button in the CRM, it generates that meeting link and sends it out to the customer. So I click the button and I'm like, great. Now the customer gets the 30-minute or 1-hour meeting, not the 49-hour meeting, and they get the booking link, except there was no customer. I had forgotten to add participants. Now that's just me. Maybe you guys, somebody laughed over here. So it's me and that guy, whoever that was. We mess up. Some of you guys don't mess up. You're flawless. That's awesome. But maybe you don't ever mess up. At the same time, there are going to be times where you try to book with a customer and it takes like 8 emails, right? The customer reaches out to you. Hey, do you have time for a meeting? Yeah, here are my time slots. No, none of those work for me. Okay, well, what about these? Yeah, that one works. A day later, hey, can we reschedule? Sure, how does this time work? No, that doesn't work either. And you just go on and on and on. I've sent like 10 emails just trying to schedule with this individual, and it's painful. It is so painful to go through that process. So instead, we use Zoho Bookings. Now, this is calendar booking, really simple. Most of us have heard of that. And this is just our version. What's going to be really nice, though, is with Zoho Bookings, now I have quicker scheduling. Things get done a lot faster. No more emails. I'm not worried about any of that. In fact, I can just take the little booking link, embed it right inside of my email signature, and it sends straight over to those customers, right? So as we interact, they can book whenever they feel like, right? Please see the booking link below, right? And that's too easy. And what's also really nice about Zoho Bookings is I can come in and have multiple types of consultations, is what we're going to call it. So you have a half-hour discovery call, right? I set up that half-hour discovery call. It's on the booking link, been embedded on my website, so customers can go to the Contact Us page and book their own scheduling. So now you just have meetings on your calendar. But on top of that, we can also minimize your scheduling conflict, and that's going to happen in 2 ways. One is we have something really simple, the pre and post buffer times. So I have a half-hour call, and this has happened to me before. When you have those back-to-back calls, I go to sit down for the call. I had my 15 half-hour time of prep prior to this call. I sit down. It is a wonderful call, but then I have to hop right into the second one, right? And so now 30 minutes after that initial call, it's been an hour. My head hurts. I'm kind of tired. I need to go get a coffee. And now it's time to sit down and write out my notes about how those conversations went. And then you're just having to sit and just scrape your brain for information to try and load that into your notes section in the CRM. That is also extremely painful. So these pre and post buffer times, I can say, well, anytime somebody books with me at 9 a.m., it's going to block off 8:45 to 9 and then have a post buffer time of another 15 minutes if you want to, right? And you can vary these times, of course. But now I have these booking links. I send those out to my customers, as I mentioned, and now they can just easily book with me, and I'm not worried about back-to-back meetings. On top of that, I'm also going to be able to integrate this straight to the CRM. Obviously, that's why we're using it. But I'm going to use, some people use Google Meeting, Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar. I want to integrate both of those into the CRM calendar. And then Zoho Bookings is continuously checking for conflicts, right? So now Zoho Bookings is looking to the CRM to say, okay, well, does Joe have something scheduled at this time? Yes, then don't display that as an option on your booking page. So now you will never again miss a kid's soccer game because you blocked off that time on Friday, but forgot to block off that time inside of Zoho Bookings. We don't have to worry about that. All of that is blocked off. So that's going to be tool number 2. Now, tool number 3, this one is actually fairly simple. Right, we're just using Zoho Voice. Now, Zoho Voice is our phone system, and so of course it integrates with telephony. And I think this is just, it's such a great tool, very simple. We know what we're doing here, but I think it just makes for a simpler call process, right? Because a lot of phone systems, you have to go to their browser, to their website, to their phone application, whatever it might be, and you have to dial out from there. For us, we just have this baked right into the CRM. So whenever you're ready to go and make those calls, maybe it's scheduled and you decided to use Zoho Bookings just to block off that time. You don't send out a meeting link from Zoho Meeting. that's fine. These calls can still take place with this telephony system. So I can come in and see, okay, well, me and Jim here, we had a call scheduled. So I'm going to go ahead and call Jim, click to call. Too easy, right? So again, still no more emails. Now, on top of that, when I place this call, one, I can record these. I can pause recordings that you have to do in every single call. You just block that out, right? We don't need to record it. And then I also can do things like voicemail drop, right? So if I come in and I know that this, hey, maybe this is a customer I know I don't want to call and I just want to leave them the voicemail, come in, dial out, immediate click voicemail drop. It gives them the same thing that you regurgitate every single time you get a voicemail. Or you can actually have a couple of pre-recorded voicemail drops so that it's like, this is follow-up call 1, follow-up call 2, 3, closing call voicemail, whatever it might be. So I can have all of those there. And then these voice recordings are going to be saved underneath your closed call, as well as the description that we leave here. So how did the call go? Make sure to save that right inside of the CRM. It was great. Great call. Zoholics was awesome, customer said. They loved Josh's presentation. Save. And so now I can go, when it's time for me to call this customer again later, go sift through my visits and I can say, okay, well, cool. Right over here, they came to my website through Zoho Sales IQ, which, by the way, just a little snippet of code you throw on your website. There's nothing crazy there. Very, very easy to integrate. But now I can see they came and visited 4 different pages. They were on there for 3 minutes. They had a quick chat, and I've now got the whole chat transcript, whether it was a live chat or just a chat with Zobot. I can open that up and actually view the entire conversation. Howdy, welcome to Zoholics, so on and so forth. We go through the whole gambit. So all of this is I'm able to see all of this information directly from the CRM right before I go back and make my call to the customer. And then on top of that, with those previous calls, maybe it's time for me, again, we're in the headspace of sales reps ready to go out and make another call. I can come and see these closed calls previously and see all of the outgoing calls. I have a missed call from Jim, right? Well, what was the missed call? I can click in here and actually listen to the voice recording if I want. So I can hear exactly what Jim said. So it just saves me so much time to be able to come place the calls, do what I need to. So this is actually all going to be done inside of the Zoho Voice settings, right? So I'll be able to choose which phone number, who it applies to. And there's some other fun stuff in Zoho Voice. We won't get a lot into it, but if anybody's doing things like power dialers, call barging, which is something I learned of recently in preparation for this, we can even do call barging if anybody's doing that. And that's where a sales manager can sit in on a sales rep's phone call without the customer knowing. I've been told it is really weird to have 2 voices in your ear. I get that a lot. All that said, last big thing is Zoho Bookings integration. All of those new meetings that are placed without your sales rep having to worry about when, those are all saved right inside of here, right? So it's too easy to integrate these multiple applications for your sales rep to just go hop into Jim Huebner's contact page and start getting to work. That's all I've got.